viewers, welcome back. You are going to love today's session with our special guest, Dianna Booher. Dianna is in the Speaker Hall of Fame. She is the best-selling author of more than 49 books and has been named by global gurus as a top 30 communicator for 10 consecutive years. In addition to speaking, she is a trainer, a coach, a workshop developer, and one of the most sought out communications professionals. And one more thing we're going to ask her about a little later is her newest consulting and coaching venture, Booher Book Camps. I am thrilled to have Dianna with us for all of those reasons, and also because she is equally passionate about helping women learn to stop undervaluing their work. She provides practical ideas on what she calls the 7 ways to price speeches, coaching, consulting, and products. Dianna, thank you so much for being with us today.
Sure. I'm looking forward to it, Charlene.
Great, thank you. And I like to just jump in. So, wow, you must be exhausted with all of those accomplishments. So, Dianna, tell us, what's your story? How did you get started in all of this?
Well, actually, I just kind of fell into it. It wasn't very planned. I was, my husband was struggling with mental illness in and out of the psychiatric hospital, and I had 2 small kids, and I just needed to make a living. I went to a friend of mine, and he said, well, what did you like to do? And I said, well, I haven't been working since I had the kids, but I used to like to write themes, essays in school. And he says, well, I suggest you figure out how to make a living doing that. And of course, I didn't know any author back then, lived in a very small town, but I went to the library, checked out all these books, and taught myself how to write a book. And
wow.
I fortunately sold it right away, got an agent and sold it. I realized after that, that's very unusual, but
Yes.
this happened at the right time with the right subject. And I began, while it was coming out from a traditional publisher, I was teaching at a local junior college now and then, writing a creative writing class. And I had people in there, engineers, lawyers, accountants saying, I said, what are you writing? A romance, a spy thriller? And they said, no, I'm just trying to get help to write on the job. And that's when I thought, that is going to be a great topic. And so I went on to my next book on writing and just tried to make that my marketing plan forever.
Right. So, Dianna, I understand that when you say, okay, I decided to write a book, that book turned into 5 books, but how does that turn into 49, almost 50 books? And I'm pretty confident you're going to reach 50. So how does that growth happen?
Basically, when you're in there talking to clients, whatever you start out with, whatever your area of expertise is, they're always going to tell you about problems. And so once you're in there, as soon as you write a book, you get massive media coverage, and that media coverage generates people calling in saying, come out and help us solve this problem. And when you're in there coaching and talking and consulting to different clients, then they're going to reveal other problems. And I go, I've got to research that, write a book on it. And that's just been my process throughout my entire career of more than 3 decades, is just going out and talking to clients, hearing their complaints, thinking, what's the solution to that? Becoming an expert in that area. And unfortunately, I chose a big, broad area of communication. And there are a lot of aspects to that, oral, written, customer service communication, conflict. There are just so many avenues still under that umbrella. And so when clients ask you to solve a problem, you want to be there.
Right. That's great. I've been a communicator all of my career before I decided to become a recovering C-suite executive. So it's just really great to hear that you've had such a long and successful career in communications, which is something I'm also passionate about. So we've talked about your tremendous success in not just one thing, but several. At what point did you realize your worth and that you had what it took to act on it?
Well, I think I began to get a glimpse when I did my very first workshop on business writing and technical writing for Shell Oil. And universally, we used to have some kind of measurement, and we go in and measure how much time they save. And the feedback was overwhelming. So I had a feeling that was going to be a big area for me. But I guess really it was about 3 or 4 years into my career when IBM called me from a media, I had a new book out, and they saw me on ABC show and had me come in and talk to them. And that began a process. They said, well, you can teach business and technical writing. It's really the same thinking process, the persuasion, psychology for presentations. Can you do that? So they hired me for that. And then it was customer service communication, and then teaching all of IBM worldwide how to do their resumes, to put in proposals. And then they said, can you come back and teach us how to increase our ratio with proposals that we're sending out? And so it's just like whatever they needed, I was their first stop. And can you do this for us? And so I began to realize that, hey, they're willing to pay for this because of the value that it delivers to them.
Right.
To give you that one example, if their closing ratio on proposals, and I don't even remember what it was back when I started, I worked with them for about 25 years, but if their closing ratio of all the proposals they sent out was 50%, and I was able to help them create proposals that up their closing ratio to 80 or 85%, then that's tremendous value to them. So I think to know your worth, you have to have an experience where there's a huge problem and the client sees it as a huge problem, and you actually deliver the solution they need. Then it's almost unlimited. And then they begin passing your name around to this person and this person and this organization, and it just snowballs.
Well, and how did you have the confidence to know that in helping them with proposals that you were really providing value? You had the confidence to say, I'm going to help you, and I just know that this is going to help you win this contract in the way that we write this proposal, or in the way we go through the best and final. How did you get that level of confidence, or did you always have it?
No, I didn't. I grew up in a very small town at a very small school system, and that just wasn't part of the thing. However, I know that I can communicate with people, and I guess I just have a trusting demeanor, so that when I get in front of a senior executive, that comes across. I know from the very first workshop that people immediately saw results. For example, in a presentation, when I taught presentation skills, we videotape them, and so we can see the before and the after. We're seeing them progress, and so having some sort of measurement. I know when I worked with Frito-Lay the first time, I was talking about cutting paperwork, and they actually it was a group of engineers, food scientists, and they actually measured how much trash and how much paper they used for a 6-month period. And they came back to me and actually put a blurb, an endorsement on the back of one of my books, long since out of the market. But the vice president said there, you have increased our productivity measurably by 27%.
That's fantastic. That had to make me feel really good.
Once you have those, that feedback from a client, that builds confidence. And then even the one-on-one comments, when somebody says, you changed my life, you changed my whole career, I could not get promoted because of a lack of skill in this particular area, and you help them achieve that. And, they go and blare out to everyone they know, I've been transformed, so to speak. They don't use those words, of course.
Right, of course.
When that happens, then they get around.
So now that you're in this great kind of, journey of success, you understand your value. Has that changed how you make decisions, or do you make better decisions because of the sense of value that you have?
Yes, I think one of the key decisions that's different is you turn down business. You turn down clients that are very demanding and actually don't want to pay your fees. And you focus on those where you can help. When you're starting out, you frequently, whatever you can pay, I'll do it. And because many times people say, because I want the experience, I want a track record, I want a testimonial. But after you get that, then you have the confidence to say I know that's not my area of expertise. If I'm delivering a keynote, no, that's not the audience that I can really transform. That's not who I'm going for. And I think it gives you the power and the courage to say no to dollars that otherwise would come into your door.
Right, right. Now, in the intro, I mentioned something around, 7 ways to price or to value yourself. Can you share a couple of those ways with us?
Sure, I can tick off all of them really quickly. I
Sure.
learned them a long time ago, 3 decades
Mhm.
ago, from two CEOs that were friends in large companies, and they began to talk about how to price. One, people I've already mentioned, they just want to go with the budget. What
Right.
do you have? What's in your budget? And then when
Uh-huh.
you get a little more confidence,
Mhm.
sometimes you develop your pricing, your worth by how much it costs, and then do a multiple. It
Mhm.
costs me this much to create something or deliver it, then I'm going to do a multiple of 5, and that's the price.
Okay.
Other people charge about their time. How much time
Mhm.
did I spend in doing this? And I think my time is worth X dollars an hour.
Mhm.
Uh, if that comes out to be smaller than you think the dollar value should be, you might bid by the project.
Oh, okay.
Accountants do this all the time. They
Mhm.
say, I fill out this form,
Right.
it's going to be this much. I fill out that form, it's going to be that much.
Mhm.
You can also value, and what I've moved to is valuing by the value you create, the
Right.
outcomes you deliver.
Mhm.
And so you go ask the client, what is the problem? How much is this costing you?
Right.
What that is the best way, obviously, that
Right.
you finally move to at a point. And another way, of course, is just looking what the market will bear. If everybody else
Mhm.
who's doing what you do is charging X, you feel like, gee, I need to stay in that ballpark.
Mhm.
But by far, for all those different ways, staying
Mhm.
focused on value that you're delivering. What is
Right.
that mean to your client? That
Right.
is the best way to price, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I love that, the idea, which we don't think about that of, what is the problem costing you, right? And that really can drive or should drive how you're going to value yourself. Now,
Right.
one way it seems that you are helping people understand and own their value is through your new venture, Booher Book Camps. Can you tell viewers about what it is and why you're doing it, and what are people getting out of it?
Well, actually, I sold my training company 2 years ago, or actually, it's been 3 years ago, and that's when I started. I was just passing out free advice for years and years and years, and people come and say, "How do you get published?" But going back to the question you just asked me about value, if
Mhm.
you're going to price like that on value and what you can deliver, and the client's going to have confidence, you need to stand apart from the competition. And I say you need to be a sole source. And
Ah,
so the book
right.
camp and writing and authoring books on a topic makes you a sole source.
Ah,
And you
okay.
might come back to the next book and the next book, but how do you stand out? Everybody can self-publish today. And
Mhm.
so the technology is out there. So you just put up a book and you'll have it on Amazon tomorrow, literally in 24 hours. But to sell your book to a major publisher who really has marketing clout, there is a lot of prestige and credibility in that. And,
Right.
and so the book camp, what the book camps do, the Booher book camps, is help people actually develop their proposal during this 3-day event. I do them several times a year, and people come and they have an idea, they have experience, they're an expert in what they do, but they just don't understand the publishing world and what you do to market it and how
Mhm.
to leverage that to grow their
Right.
business. And so
Mhm.
that's what the book camps are all about.
Great. And it sounds like you've done this many times over.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes. I
that's
have a whole
great.
community now of people who are writing, and it could be
Mhm.
seasoned writers. They could have
Uh-huh.
published several books, but self-published, so they didn't have that marketing clout behind them. But
Right.
whether they're newbies or whether they're seasoned authors, we take them through getting your agent, writing your query letter, writing your proposal, learning a system to write fast. I have a
Mhm.
12-step process that people can write a book definitely in 2 weeks. And most people think, it's going to
Right.
take 2 years to do this, but not with the process that I teach, and particularly if it's already in their area of expertise. So
Oh,
all of that's what we do in the book camps.
yeah. Well, you talk about value, as someone who has written a book, and I consider myself an accidental author because I didn't write a book because I wanted to be an author. I wrote a book because I had something to say, and I wrote it quickly because I didn't know it was supposed to be hard. Right. But once you get to the marketing aspect, it really helps to have someone in your corner who knows how to do that, because that can be very complicated and very involved. And
Very.
it's very easy to not be successful at doing it. So So that it's great to hear that you have these camps. And I encourage our viewers who are thinking about writing a book to really check them out. So the name of this show is Know Your Worth, Command Your Value. So I have to ask Dianna, and you it's just one piece of advice would you give someone who's at any point, an age or stage of their career or life, to help them know their worth and then take actions to command their value?
I think you have to devise a way to measure what you're doing, where the client is now, or where you are, and then your growth, whether you're measuring your own growth as a coach or speaker or a trainer running a corporation, whatever it is, know where you started, and then have concrete evidence that you can get to another place, or you can get your client to another place where they want to be. So I think that's one of the key things is whatever that system is. I mean, it could be as simple like when you do a workshop, people fill out an evaluation sheet and rate you, 1 to 10, or 1 to 7, or whatever. That's simple. But when you actually measure the results of what you're delivering in some unique way, then that I think people are willing to pay for, and certainly is evidence of your worth.
Oh, and that's great. And you'd be surprised at how many people, when I ask that question, they don't say measure. So I'm so glad to hear you say that. So Dianna, thank you so much for being our expert today. It's been such a pleasure to have you. How can people find you, get in touch with you, register for your camps?
Booherresearch.com, just like my last name. It's BOO, like my last name. It's BOOHER. I say Booher and hope people don't do that. But Booherresearch.com. And then the book camps, you can just put in Booher Bootcamp and .com, BooherBootcamp.com.
Great. Well, that's fantastic. So thank you very much for joining Know Your Worth, Command Your Value. It's been wonderful to have you here. And to viewers, thank you again for joining us. And if no one's told you this today, you are enough.